Right, and Miss Yosebet, whenever you're ready, you may begin.
How many countries do you think use the metric system? And what about the American system? I don't know what everyone else is thinking right now, but I think you all know that the metric system is used by more countries. According to Lily Rotman from Time magazine, in the long tortuous history of the US and the metric system, only Myanmar, Liberia, and the United States aren't metric. This is why the US should make the metric system its official conversion system. I'll explain my position with two main points. First, I'll discuss why using different conversions could be causing problems, and second, I'll show how changing to the metric system could be a better choice. Different conversions could create problems. The use of different conversions could be confusing people who use them. It's hard for people that come from different places other than the US, and there's two other countries that don't use the metric system. It's gonna be really hard. It could be really hard to use the American conversions. And as said earlier, more countries are metric, which could make the use of the metric system more easier for many people. According to Lily Rotman in The Long Tortuous History of the US and the Metric System, she said, in one remarkable 1983 incident, an Air Canada flight ran out of gas and had to crash land when a new metric calibrated plane was refueled by a ground crew used to working with pounds rather than kilograms. This is used as like a reason to show that adopting the metric system could be hard, but what if this person had moved to another country? The same thing would have happened. This is why the US should adopt the metric system. To see this with a more practical example for St. Paul students, St. Paul is a school where lots of international students come through. And most of the countries that these students come from are metric. So if a student says, I'm 6'2", that will be very confusing for those international students, since 6'2" wouldn't mean much. Or at least they would have to look at their phones and search on the internet to see what 6'2" means. And that makes conversations really hard, because it's really not comfortable like talking while using your phone every time someone says a conversion. That's really hard. It could make conversations go slowly, and it could also be boring and not make people talk to each other. The metric system could also be easier and efficient. According to Judson Welliver, he was a literary clerk for President Harding. In the metric system, he says that it has been almost universally admitted for many decades that the French system is the most nearly perfect that has ever been devised. The metric system is a French system. It's created by the French. It's easier since the base is 10, and it uses the same thing for volume, mass, and distance, as you can see on your first page of the handout, the other page. Yeah, on this page of the handout. Sorry. So it's all the same for volume, mass, and distance. The way to put an end to these problems is adopting the same conversions. Going to the metric system could be a good choice. It could make things better for both sides that use the metric system and that don't. The metric system is easier, and isn't it better to talk without being interrupted than stopping at every moment for just checking out what this conversion means? And some people might ask, why have the US changed instead of other countries changing? But as said earlier, more countries use the metric system, so it's only fair that the countries that are not using the metric system, since there are only few, they change. And also because the US uses the metric system for international relations, it's easier. And it's not going to be hard for the US to use the metric system because some schools teach their students the metric systems, and America is already using the metric system or is more or less using it more often now. According to John Marciano in Why Won't America Go Metric, he says, the United States is metric, or at least more metric than most of us realize. American manufacturers have put out all metric cars, and the wine and spirits industry abandoned fifths for 75 milliliter bottles. It is possible for the US to slowly adopt the metric system. It's not a one-day job, it would take time. And according to Lily Rockman for Time magazine, in the long tortuous history of the US and the metric system, changing to the metric system for Canada was not an easy thing, but it was possible. So if people take one step at a time, it's going to be possible. The steps could be informing the public, making it mandatory at schools, and teaching adults, since it's also necessary for adults to learn it. And now you can take the first step by learning it yourself, as you can all see on the handouts. The US should go metric. My first point was that using different conversions could be harder. My second was that it could possibly make conversions easier for everyone. And if children are taught as well as the adult population, making the metric system the official system of the US isn't going to be a very hard thing.
Thank you very much. Let's give her a round of applause. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to keep you up there, Yosebet, and we can fire some questions at you based upon your information. Whenever you're ready.
I have a question that how you guys came to the other system, the metric. Since you said that metric system was invented by friends, right?
Yeah.
And how it came that US has different conversion than has Europe and everyone else, since when US was occupied by or established by Europeans.
Yeah, okay, so the American system is based on the British system. And
So British is also this.
Yeah, but I think it's also using the metric system. I think it uses the metric system now, but it used to.
Oh, so before.
Yeah, and the metric system is like invented like a few years. I mean, it's like more recent than American system.
I have a question. If you said that they are already adopting this, then why do you pick to talk about why they should adopt it?
So it's not all the population is for using the metric system. It's like some manufacturers are starting to do that, but most of the population doesn't want to use it because they don't really see the point for them. That's why. Thomas?
You said Canada was able to switch to it. Like, what would be a way that you think we could get America to do it, since our population's so much, like, we have more people in the state of Texas than Canada does in their entire country, so what would be a way we could get our much larger population to learn the metric?
Well, like I said, it's like, the first thing I believe is, since Americans don't want to change, it's informing the public why it will be necessary to do it. And the second one, it's like making it mandatory at schools. And if kids are taught since they're little, like to use the metric system, it's not going to be hard for them. So if you go starting from the bottom, it's Mary.
If the adult, would it be harder for the adults to go to that one instead? Because the children are going through school and learning it for them, but wouldn't it be hard for the adults?
Yeah, it will be harder for them, but if they know the benefits of it, it's harder, like learning a new language for an adult is harder, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, so I'm convinced we need to change it, but how could we personally take action?
So you could learn, like, since you know the American conversions, learn to change it to the metric conversions, then also learn that, between, it's really easy because it's just going from 10 to 10, but also learn that, and I think that's really easy to do if you want to do it.
What should we do when we have problem of metric system when we are doing some business?
Excuse me?
What should we do if we have some problem on the business of the metric system?
So if you're conducting business and there's some problems with using metric, how should we adapt or adjust to those problems? What could we do to help ourselves if we're in business and there's complications, I guess? Do you have some suggestions?
I don't think there would be a problem because most of the countries that the US does those business relations to are metric, so I don't believe that there would be any problems. That would be, no. Ella?
For metrics, like per centimeter in feet, we use like 160 centimeter and they use like 5 feet too. So actually the centimeter is, we're using bigger numbers. Isn't it gonna be better for other countries to change their metrics since we're using
No, because like you said, it's 5'2", it's 160, right? But so changing from 5'2", it's more harder because feet is like 12 inches, so you have to divide by 12, and dividing by 12 is harder than dividing by 10, and that's the centimeter is easier to divide, and also like more countries use the metric system, and it has been accepted by many that it's like the best way, so it will be easier for the US to do it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to call an end to the questions. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you very much, Missy.